well. Thank you, Carrie, for later. Um, so we're each, though, a tulku. We each, I believe, have a role, a wisdom, uh, qualities that are the most unique, unlike any other, that your job, if you could call it that, is to bring to the world. When we forget that, we suffer. Oh, oh, gives me goosebumps because then we spend all of our time grabbing after um, shiny things. If I could only get that, then I could really be if I could get this thing, then actually what we recognize in the practices and the teachings that we do is often it's not until everything has been stripped that we end up seeing who we are. Now, why? Because no distraction, no more shiny objects, nothing, just the bare bone, we call it, of our own heart mind. Now, interestingly, that's the story of Christ, isn't it? Look at that. That's the story of Christ. While Christ was anointing and making wine and loaves of bread, you're not so special. Who are you? Anyway, really, not until he's hanging, literally, on the cross. And not till then does he know who he is. Not even till then does he recognize really transformed, right? We call that transformed. Really, is it becoming somebody else? The opposite. You don't become anything else. You become most you, right? Most profoundly your essence. And it often takes suffering. We could call that the shedding of layers of what? Thinking. The layers of thinking. And Mingyur, this happens to Mingyur, by the way, in chapter 6. He has been trained since birth for a beautiful life, like the Buddha himself, essentially a prince. Mingyur was this. He's got a tutor. He goes to special private schools. Everybody puts on his clothes. They take off his clothes. He doesn't eat hardly himself. Everything's handed to him. And he recognizes in his training that this is not going to be the path for him. And he makes a decision, very like his lineage, to escape the trappings, because he's now recognized, I got this pretty good. And he leaves. And he even has, as we all do, don't we, fantasies about how great that's going to go. I'm going to ride the train. I won't have anybody I have to talk to. I could just meditate all day. And really fairly quickly in the 4-year retreat, he becomes deathly ill, probably from a food poisoning or other, and almost dies. And then the real bare bone, he really then appears, no longer trapped by this amount of praise, adoration, attention, care that I'm supposed to get because I'm special. And this is very consistent then with my teacher, Joko, who wrote a book called Nothing Special. And she was talking about her and us. Nothing special, on the one hand, in the most absolute, right? All just drops of water in the big ocean of humanity. And also, what does she say? You have been gifted this precious human life. No accident. No accident. In these teachings, it says the human birth is actually the highest gift given, the highest, even with suffering, even with confusion, even with violence, greed, war, right? We go, what the hell? Who wants this? And the teachings say, oh, no, you do, because you can choose, unlike any other being on the whole of this planet and possibly the universes. You can choose how to love in response. Now, that could be a deal breaker, couldn't it? You go, all right, well, uh, there was no commitment in these teachings that there would be no suffering in this. It never said, and it will be a piece of cake. And then tra la la for you. And if you get it right, it'll go better. In fact, what I'm noticing is the more right sometimes you get it, the more we have to then unhook from that. Because then I have a nice house in a nice neighborhood. And you can get pretty attached to that and forget the bigger reality, which is what? How do I then live with greatest generosity, kindness, care, and compassion right here in my nice little house? And the answer is we all forget. We all forget, don't we? Yeah. Everybody nods, right? Nobody goes, no, I'm clear. No, you're not. No, because whatever it is you've got that you think you need, that's also going to be tested, right? Whether that's love, a relationship, a job, an animal, a great plant, it doesn't make beautiful yards. So what? Really, in the end, these are not the gifts. The gifts are the continual present moment choice we have over and over and over and over to be what? Kind, caring, compassionate, loving, and wise. That's the gift. Everything else, incidental. Right? Everything else is incidental. Really, and Mingyur's whole story then is about with everything stripped away, could he really use all those years of teaching, 40 years for him, to get compassionate and beginning with himself? I'm sick. I am deserving attention, care. And that it's not an either or. If I'm really loving, really kind, then I give it all away. It was wrong. And we make this mistake too, don't we? This is a part of the failure of the Christian tradition, I believe, is to go, you have to give up everything in order to be loving. No, you don't. You have to be whole in order to be loving, don't we? And if we're not whole, we can't give our best. And that requires care. And as my father used to joke, he should have cut himself down from there and gave everybody hell. Right? And instead, the thing says, no, you give it up and hope for another life, another time, another way. And in the Eastern traditions, it says you only have now, be wise here. Be wise right here. Don't go later, it'll work out. Be wise now. Be skillful now. Be most loving now. And include yourself is the teaching. You better, because otherwise it becomes an unsustainable concept. You can't do it, can you? You are deserving. I remember when I first started teaching, I was struggling with this idea of fees. Right? It's not consistent with the tradition. Fees, everything is dana, and that makes sense to me. And the idea of fees has never really made sense to me. And I would go to Joka with this, going, I don't know how to do this because everybody's charging money, and a lot of money sometimes, in a way that was a struggle for me. And she said, oh, but dear, you have to realize where you live and the world in which you live. And you can't change that. You have to start there. You start with the reality that people want a number. And with that number, they're comfortable. And so they will come because you said it's $25. And then they know and go, okay, 25 is reasonable. Really, but what about the people who can't pay the 25? She said, you'll know who they are. Anyway. And then you make the offering. If you sense somebody's genuine interest, then they can't do it, and you say, whatever, we make that work. And so it helps me resolve that bind about fees and money and exchanging that is not consistent with these teachings, but is consistent with our culture. Right? So you'll notice when we do it all day, we say it's $50 for the whole day and $35 for part of the day. And that's so that people can be comfortable. Because when we say whatever you can afford, what happens? Everybody goes, I don't know what that is. Is that $1,000? Is that $5? What? I don't get it. It doesn't feel right. So we work with what we, where we are and what we have. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on Mingyur, but we are going to then spend a lot of time on this concept once again of coming home to ourselves. And remember, my concept of waging peace, and you heard me talk about it last week, is coming peacefully to oneself, right? That we can't be peace, we can't live peace if we're some distance from the reality of hungry like this, or tired like this, or scared like this, or confused like this. And that the greatest and most exquisite risk in our human life is to allow our humanness. Because if I can tolerate mine, there's some pretty good chance I can tolerate yours, isn't there? Because I can go just like me. You just don't feel like it. That's okay. And then it's no problem. It becomes a problem when I deny that reality in myself. I go, no, you just have to because you said you would. And if you, right, you got to struggle with that because you said, and then if you don't, you're a jerk because you said you would and then you didn't, right? We get into lots of game, right? But can we actually honor the reality of the present moment and our body minds in it, knowing the difference between lazy, right, and really not right. It's just not right because I don't have what I would need to bring to this, so everyone becomes deficient, right? You get the difference. Very big difference between mind that just is in fear and collapses, contracts, and pulls away versus this just isn't right for me right now. I don't have the energy for the party, right? When one of the examples was when my dad died at the end of November, many years ago now, 5, I think. Could it be 6? It's too terrifying. It's going to be 6. Wow. We went to the funeral and the services in Chicago in December. And I came home and everybody goes, are we going to put up a tree? And I went, no, I'm not going to put up a tree because I don't have that energy. It was a quiet energy. It was an honoring, certainly, energy. And I could have certainly celebrated something, but not like that. It just wasn't there. Bright lights and tinsel and right. And I just said, this is just not the year for that. And it turned out to be a beautiful Christmas. It was a quiet one with a lot of regard and holding a place at the table for those who we had lost, including my dad, right? Very meaningful, very important, not with denial, not with pushing it away, but in fact with being right there with the truth of it. So because it's Tuesday, we're going to strike the bell for 15-minute sit. Then we're just going to continue, right? We're going to go on. But the stabilizing of the mind in this way is always good practice. We're going to do this every Tuesday and invite our friends from the 30-day challenge to keep joining us so they can remember who they really are as well. So finding a posture that carries the dignity of this human life. Even in war, there are those seeking peace. Even in confusion, by the very recognition of it, there is wisdom. Inherent right in the confusion. Knowing confusion is wisdom. And so we're not going to try to be some other way. We're going to start in the body, just beginning to incline one's whole heart mind there. And then we rest. Oh, nobly born. Remember who you really are. There is no one in the whole of the world more deserving of your love, your care, and your attention than you are yourself. You will not find that person anywhere. And see if you can breathe that in. What would it mean if we lived in accord with that essential truth? And then recollecting a moment, if you would, with the stability, with the unification of this mind body, with this wholeheartedness. Recollecting a moment where you were on your own side without separating from others, whereby this very care, this very attention, this very intention to care for oneself, we benefit the world. And then there is no taking or giving. There is no them or us. There is no me or you. This is resting in the essential truth from the absolute view that wherever care is offered, when it is offered with wholeheartedness, with the clear, awakened heart mind, there is no short shrift, there is no deficiency. Everybody gets exactly what is needed. Sometimes me, and sometimes you. But we can't hope for right view, noble view, wise view, complete view, if we do not attend first to ourselves. From the eye of deficiency, nothing is seen clearly. And from the heart mind of awakening, there is always enough. We do exactly what needs to be done for ourselves and for others. without distinction. And see if you can recollect that moment, the moment where you were on your side, and by virtue of doing so, everyone benefited, just like that Christmas story I told, where out of honoring the truth of my own grief, my own sadness, my own reality, everyone was able to rest there too. No one had to be some other way. Maybe a moment of fear, a moment of pain, a moment of sadness, a moment of grief. By the very honoring of it all, our honor. This is the part of the human experience no one escapes. And can we be kind? Can we be generous, peaceful, in the face of that affliction? Rather than run the other way, rather than denial, rather than shove it under or kill it off, can we invite it in? And then see if you can feel how the very opening to it, the very breathing it in, whatever the reality, actually creates more space and room, not less, by turning right towards fear, right towards confusion, right towards the wanting or not wanting qualities of mind. We get bigger. And remember, our first work is to feel wholly, wholeheartedly for ourselves, understanding that this is a part of the human condition, not some failure, not some deficiency, and not some circumstance of yours. The reality of being human. And we breathe it in and we let it be. And we rest in the out breath. And we do that again and again. Each breath, a healing balm. And we stay with ourselves and we stay on our own side, knowing the truth of this. And there is no time in healing. It is a continuous and ongoing enterprise. And then you might notice that your very presence was the whole point all along. That what you offer, whatever that is, was really secondary to the presence, the very being here with yourself, the most radical act of love and compassion. And then we offer ourselves not only mercy, not only forgiveness, not only grace, but actually we offer ourselves to ourselves, the greatest gift possible. And we stay. And as we stay, we see clearly the causes or the afflictions that have contributed to our suffering. The wanting mind, but not wanting, the wanting something else. And we arrive again and again, but just here with ourselves as we are. And from that very looking within, we begin to understand this human condition and these qualities. And then when we are out in the world, we see clearly also, we see the truth of this vulnerability, this humanness, this pain, confusion, doubt, whatever's here in others. And then we can feel not only for ourselves, but for them too. And we offer that same wish. May you be free from this affliction. May you remember who you really are. And from that clear seeing, there's then wisdom. And from that wisdom, there is only love and compassion. And we know it in the bones. And then we feel for ourselves and we feel for others. And there's then no distinction. May we all be. All have peace. May we all be. And may this practice contribute. So then no problem. So how does this practice inform you? What did you sense, see, know? What do you come to understand that we forget again and again and again? When you attend to yourself, Libby says it does nothing but benefit others. There is no either or except the separating mind. Only the mind. That separating mind does that. Someone is deserving, someone is not deserving. Someone should get it, someone shouldn't get it. Someone's right, someone's wrong, someone's good, someone's bad, someone's up, someone's down. And it's all an illusion. Who deserves peace? Me or you? And then we realize how ridiculous, isn't it? It's a ridiculous question, right? Who deserves for their children to be well? Who deserves for the right attention to the body so that it can be sufficient, right? So that it can do its work of carrying around this awakened heart mind. Dennis says, realizing what's so and keep moving. Keep moving. Keep being for sure. Keep being for sure. And being what? Wholehearted, open-hearted. And being careful that we don't mistake that perceived separation for a reality, which is very easy to do because most people aren't going to be doing what you think needs to be done. I might add, most aren't going to be doing what you think needs to be done. Why? Well, you've got a 1 of 7 billion of a view. 1 of 7 billion is your view. And so, who decided what needed to be happened? And we all buy in, don't we? It should go like this, it should go like that. It should have done this, it should have done that. If only this, if only that. Right. And there is no benefit to the endeavor. There's no benefit to going, if only you woulda, things that have gone better. Well, what are you going to do about that? Except to go, how do I contribute to this? Is there a way of supporting right? What we'll call long view, not right view, we just call it long view. That you see, as long as Israel and Palestine are fighting, we're all screwed. As long as the Ukraine and Russia are embattled, we're all going to die. It's the truth. Right? We know. Mm-hmm. So, how do we remember then? Because in the practice, in the quiet, we can make contact, don't we? We remember, oh, right, that's right. There's just this. Can I just be here? Can I just abide? Can I breathe? Can I really allow for the exchange here? And then we get right into the traffic, and they're the enemies. Or we get into the achy knee and decide that there's a problem. Or it didn't go our way. Somebody forgets to call, right? Say good morning, I don't know, right? And what happens? Boy, we get offended. And why? Why do we get so offended? Because somebody else didn't see me, which absolutely means you didn't see you. That's exactly what that means. You didn't see you that morning. Because if you see you, if you recognize the light, you're just shining it. Whoever else gets it or doesn't get it, it's no problem. Right? No problem. So, it's worth looking at the chapter. I'm not feeling compelled to do it. Really, it's a story, right? And it's a lovely story. And it's one I would want you to read, but not as somebody else's story, then, right? I would like you to read that as your story. So what are the travails, right? The suffering you know. And what were you imagining was supposed to happen? How were you imagining it was all supposed to unfold? And then how does it constrict, limit your boundlessness the minute we buy into that story of me? The minute we buy into the story of me, we're on the path to being completely lost. Because then we forget, right? 1/7 billion. Meaningful. It matters. But it is not to minimize its impact, but to say you count too, and your recognition will matter also. And we minimize that too, don't we? That's one of the ways we give up. What do I do about that challenge or that difficulty? And one of the ways I want us to know about that is that next Tuesday, no, that won't be next Tuesday. That's the 31st. So that's Halloween. No, the following Tuesday, November 7th, I'm going to put that in the newsletter today. We will have Andrea Esty here, who it works with the Children of Ukraine Fund, or Ukrainian Children's Organization, I think is what it's actually called. She'll be here for about a half hour to talk about how they're going to use our $4,000 donation. And you're going to be impressed with how they're going to use that little bit of money that we raised right here in Southern California, right? Well, who knows where that's going, how that's going to work out, so that you can see the real ways that we are going to be impacting lives. So she will be here in 2 Tuesdays. She'll come on at 7:30. We'll do a 15-minute sit, and then we'll talk with her about what we're doing to contribute to peace there in the Ukraine. That's just one example of that, right? There's any number of ways, big and small, and the smallest one and the most potent for me is your choosing to be still and silent, to see the quality of your own heart mind every day. That's the minimum. If I can do that, then everything else I do after that 60 breaths will be towards the good. Because then I'll see clearly when I'm not on my own side, when I'm in complaint, when I'm in enemy making, when the mind is contracted because it's not getting some sufficient supply of care or space or breath, right? We can feel it, and then we can offer ourselves something. Then, right? Any other thoughts about this? We forget every day. It's still amazing to me, 30 years later, how easy it is to forget literally every day if I don't commit myself first to being still and activating that goodness and remembering it. And then I feel compelled from there to live it. And that's good news, right? I'd like nothing else to do but find the ways to do that. And then with the I mind heart towards that path, you don't get lost. You go, well, yeah, that didn't quite work out the way I thought it would, but it's not really the point. The point is, how do I stay here and towards that care, kindness, right? Clear seeing and wisdom. And we just find our way back again and again. And the neuroscience says that's for sure. That from setting the path first thing in the morning, always best, that you will just find your way back to the right path again and again, even when we get thrown off by, right, the tsunami waves of life happening, things we didn't want, things we didn't see coming, things we preferred not be as they are, right? So when you watch the news, be careful, because you're flooding yourself with really nothing that will be of benefit except to know that there is the truth of suffering. But your powerlessness is very likely to get activated there. And then we forget, no, it's just about this moment and this person and these people sitting on the couch, and how do I love them? And whatever else is in the Ukraine that comes, right? Because then we can raise some money and do some good in that small way. But not first, right? First, how do I supply and resource, right? A big word we're using now. How do I resource myself so that I have something to offer? And if we don't do it, there won't be. And that's just the thing. And we wish it for others. Right? We like the story, don't we? That you just give and give and give, and out of all that giving, good things come. And it might be true, but they won't be there for you because you can't sustain that. It's not sustainable. Christ could not have lived because it wasn't ultimately sustainable. How do we do this? We have to offer care to self and other, self and other, self and other in that exchange. It's a continuous exchange that we're in. One breath in, one breath. Says the Zen. One for me, one for you. So I think we're probably good. I want to remind people, because I'm looking at Greg's thing here. We had a board meeting, EMC board meeting yesterday. And what came out of the board meeting is we still have some t-shirts. For those who have not yet bought a t-shirt, they're mostly large, I believe, and mostly black. But we do have some. So if you don't have a t-shirt already, please know, Chris, I happen to have a t-shirt for you that's gray from a while ago. So I want you to know that's here. Besides t-shirts, and besides Andrea coming in 2 weeks, we are going to be doing a little brunch this Saturday at about 8:30. We're going to practice, and I'm going to make some quiche, and everybody can bring something. If they can think of something, you can bring a juice or a fruit or whatever you've got in there. Bring that along. It always works out perfectly. And we're just going to have a little fun together because we didn't do our party for our anniversary this year in the summer, and we will be outside, and I'm trusting it'll be a good day. That's this Saturday at around 8:30. So come, because I make a mean quiche. We got a quiche making family here. Pretty good on that quiche. We love things with cream, cheese, and eggs. Just throw them in there. So we're gonna do that, and then the following Saturday, and again, this will all come out in the newsletter. The following Saturday is, I think, the 4th or 5th. 4th is a Saturday. We will be putting together our self-care bags that will then go to CRC, Community Resource Center, for our unsheltered friends, for refugees, for our domestic violence shelter. And Lisa and the board have been gathering items. There's about 15 or more. We're going to be decorating the gallon Ziploc bags with our logo and maybe a nice little message, and then get those over to them. Our goal is 100 of those bags. We're going to be pulling together some additional supplies this week to get those done, but that will not be this Saturday. We're going to eat something first, because the following Saturday we're going to be working, and it will be our goal is to create kind of a line of just throwing things in the bag and then getting them over to CRC, especially during this time of year when it starts to get cold and people don't have kind of essentials, and they will be giving those out to all the people they serve, which, by the way, if you don't know, CRC is one of the largest organizations for providing both food, clothing, shelter, and other essentials in our area up here. And they are doing a bang-up job. So we're going to support them in that small way. And I'm excited about all of that. Look at the good. Right? Just a couple people coming together to do some pretty wonderful things. There will be a request on the newsletter. I will put a link up for you to let us know that you will be joining us on the 4th. And again, we'll probably be starting that about 8:30, practicing and talking from 7:30 to 8:30. And then it should only take about a half hour, we're figuring, to get those bags put together. So not a large investment, but a large contribution. So yippee hooray for us on all those counts. Greg, can you think of anything else that I'm not reminding people about?
That looks like a lot. The only thing I guess we're going to be doing, I know there's St. Andrews on November the 15th. So you can be looking for that. That's a couple weeks away, but we'll give you more warning on that as it's coming up.
Yeah, I think I'll include that in the newsletter, Greg, because we're also going to be looking for $25 gift cards. We're going to be figuring out how to support those 200 families through St. Andrews who count on that pantry. Every week, we're trying to additionally offer a $25 gift card the week before Thanksgiving and the holiday, so that they can go buy ham, a turkey, or diapers, whatever they might need. So I'll put that in now with the idea that we're preferring a food store like Ralph's, Vons, Stater Brothers, or something, so that if people are looking for additional food, they can get that easily there. And also a little bit on sale, which is nice, which is not easy to do at Target. a little bit tougher to be there. So I'll put that in the newsletter today also. So there's a lot happening, isn't it? There's a lot going on. Our compassionate action is an essential part of our daily practice. And so if you can't participate that way, find another way. There's infinite numbers of ways. Read a story at the library at 2 o'clock during story time. Pick up some trash on the beach. It's all counts. So don't feel like, well, if I can't join on that day, there's nothing to do. And we would very much like you to join on that day because there is something about doing it together. There is a benefit, I think. We do get more done as a community than we can do. But when we can't, then we do the best we can in the way we can. All right, everyone. I think we're probably good. I think since I don't think really going over the chapter is really the key this week, look at that on your own. We will go to chapter 7. We're going to start getting into some serious practice opportunities with mother and child luminosity. I've talked about it before. We're going to go back to that. I think it's really a perfect practice as we move into this period of Thanksgiving and celebration for the holiday. All right, everyone. Wish you all blessings. Please, everyone, take good care and be well. Begin with yourselves this day. May we all be well and happy. Good to see you all. Leslie, good to see you. Be well, everyone.